Director Jake Braun. Chair and CEO of the MTA, Jano Lieber. Dean of the New York University Tandon School of Engineering, Dr. Yelena Kovacevic. And now, please join me in welcoming the 57th Governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome Governor Kathy Hochul to our campus. And while this is the first time we have been able to host her, we are by no means strangers. In fact, when she was Lieutenant Governor in 2017, she helped cut the ribbon for our Veterans Future Lab, an incubator dedicated to helping veterans and their spouses join the startup revolution. That was just one moment in a very long and productive relationship between NYU, Tandon, and the government, where we have worked hand in glove on initiatives as varied as the future of 6G wireless, the BQE cantilever, and the responsible use of artificial intelligence. In addition to those, NYU Tandon has been at the forefront of cybersecurity for over 2 decades, spearheaded by the Center for Cybersecurity, which brings us together with the law and business schools to help protect our cyber infrastructure and all that depends on it. Our faculty are researching both hardware and software and solutions to protect people and information. We host the largest international student-run cybersecurity event in the world, and we collaborate with industry and peer higher ed institutions to create new, more accessible pathways into the cybersecurity workforce. And in addition to today's exciting announcement by the governor, we are here to congratulate the recipients of another unique partnership, the NYU Tandon Digital Learning MTA Professional Certificate Program in Operational Technology Security. We face evolving, unprecedented challenges for our state and our planet, including threats to our digital infrastructure, and engineering and technology hold the key to solving many of them. That's why at Tandon, we're focused on creating the next generation of unconventional engineers who are creating tomorrow's solutions today. Governor Hochul, MTA Chair Lieber, Director Brown, and Mr. Newmark, I want to thank you for being here today, and I look forward to many future conversations, collaborations, and pledge you my and our commitment to the city, state, and nation. Governor.
Good morning. Yeah, that's a good response. Let's pretend we're in church on a Sunday. Can I get an amen for that? All right. As governor, my number one priority is to keep New Yorkers safe, protect people's physical security during a public health crisis like COVID, keep people safe with nation-leading gun laws, protect our economy, ensuring the stability of our financial markets as we did after some bank failures earlier this year, and to protect our institutions and critical elements of infrastructure from cyber attacks. That's why we're gathered today, to announce what is a national model on how to protect our people, but also our state and our nation. And I want to acknowledge all those in attendance here today, our speaking program, who share my sense of urgency in addressing these threats. First of all, to the Dean, this institution has been extraordinary. In your leadership, first of all, again, 2 decades ago, leading the charge, sounding the alarm about the need to protect cyberspace. And people were very unfamiliar with everything we're talking about, but this institution took the lead. The rest of the nation is watching, and I'm really proud to have NYU and NYU Tandon School of Engineering in our city and all the graduates, of which I've hired many, in our administration. Keep them coming. They're the most brilliant people. So thank you, Dean. Let's give our Dean another round of applause. We also have representation from the White House here today, which is significant because they're looking to us as well as we partner with President Biden and his strong initiatives to protect Americans. We have Jake Braun, the White House Acting Principal Deputy for National Cyber. He's the National Cybersecurity Director. You'll be hearing from him about national federal initiatives, but also how we're partnering together as a state that is really taking the lead. Craig Newmark, the founder of Craig Newmark Philanthropies, who has really dedicated himself to investigating ways that he can use resources from himself and others to really help bulk up our resources and our protections for our citizens. Colin Ahern, who is our first ever cybersecurity officer. I appointed him, one of the most brilliant people I've ever met in this space. Whatever he says, I disagree with, and it goes well. So Colin, thank you. Thank you for bringing your life's experiences to government. Sometimes it's a hard transition for people, but there's not always the monetary gains, but certainly you're making a difference and you're making a legacy for our state, and I thank you for that. Another individual who we do many events with, who because he's so embedded in the values that we share, building more housing near MTA train stations and making sure that our subways are safe from crime and making sure that our trains are protected from cyber attacks, and that would be Jana Lieber, the chairman and CEO of the MTA. I want to thank you, Jana, for being with us here once again. And I'm joined by one of my commissioners, Jeanette Moy, who's the commissioner of Office of General Services. So thank you, everyone who's here, also the audience. This is not a new issue for me. As a member of Congress over a decade ago, I was a member of our capital's Homeland Security Committee. I was also a member of the Armed Services Committee. That took me traveling around the world, battlefields in Afghanistan and elsewhere. And I had a strong sense of our vulnerabilities, not just from physical attack, but also from cyber attack, even then. And I became well acquainted with those issues in all the briefings I had from the White House, disturbing information that only members of Congress and senators are aware of what was unfolding around us, knowing full well we were vulnerable. And in the decades since, cyber attacks have only intensified. Every single day we become more reliant on computers, how you bank, pay your bills, access your medical records. But even for our energy infrastructure, transportation networks, water supply, all of them are deeply reliant on digital systems. And as these innovations become critical to our daily lives, so must we prepare against these threats. We already saw this in Suffolk County just a few months ago. Literally almost brought to their knees because of a ransomware attack that forced many government functions to shut down or go offline, disconnecting more than 1.5 million residents from the services they rely on. We saw it firsthand right here. Emergency dispatchers spent weeks taking calls by hand. Real estate transactions were held up entirely. And literally county employees had to use pen and paper. Younger ones didn't even know what those tools were. Cyber criminals are determined to disrupt our systems and our lives. Their intent is nothing but malicious. Statement of fact. And they're only getting more brazen. The FBI estimated that more than 25,000 New Yorkers, not across the country, but New Yorkers, fell victim to cyber crimes last year alone. And we are a prime target. This is New York. Prime target for those who want to harm us, disrupt our way of life, not something new to us. During 9/11, our city was attacked because they thought they could have the broadest impact on our national and global economy by hitting the epicenter of the financial world. They hit Wall Street to disrupt our institutions and everything we stand for. The cyber attacks represent the same danger today. So this is not just a concern for New York, but the ripple effect of some of the institutions taken down here in New York, the effect on the national economy. So it's a matter of national security. It's also, we live in an area of geopolitical turmoil. There are increased cybersecurity threats and attacks from places like Russia and China, because everybody knows New York. Many European countries have been targeted as well. And certainly since Putin's entry into Ukraine, attacking an innocent country, the attacks have intensified on us as well. So China also, we've unveiled hidden malware inside networks controlling infrastructure, power grids, communication system, water supplies. So it falls upon us, as I said at the outset, my job is to protect New Yorkers, protect them every way I can. We must stay vigilant, proactive, and always be prepared. And fortunately, the Biden administration understands this. They've done more to shore up cybersecurity and build cyber resilience than any presidential administration in history. And I'm proud to say, following that model, that's striving to be the best, New York also has done more than any other state. We committed over $500 million in our most recent budget to enhance IT infrastructure and healthcare, particularly protecting against cybersecurity threats. I signed nation-leading legislation to create cybersecurity protections for our energy grid, as we are seeing the effects of climate change. How often we're relying on air conditioning more often than anticipated, and in the wintertime, power lines down because of Mother Nature. We don't need them down because of malicious attackers. I also created the Joint Security Operations Center down the street, a combined command center. And this is what happens in government. I've served in every level of government there is. People get into silos. They do their own jobs. They don't cross-pollinate and share information. That is detrimental to our interests and only helps the bad actors. That's why I've also established this position of Chief Cyber Officer to advise me on how to assess risk and increase our resilience across the state. So President Biden called on state leaders to harness the power of state governments. Here in New York, we're not just meeting that moment, we're leading the nation by launching the first ever statewide cybersecurity strategy. Now, you're seeing it here first. This is what we've been planning for, this is what we've been working on, and this is what we're so willing and happy to share with the rest of the nation as the template, the blueprint on how to address this. So I'm proud of the team that put this together. We're going to make sure that it's implemented, continue to enhance this, take our ideas from others, and people certainly in this audience have ideas for us, and we're going to keep bulking up our defenses against these attacks. And this is to protect critical infrastructure, but also personal information and our digital assets. This is based on 3 core values: unification, resilience, and preparedness. So let me walk through each. Unification means, very simple, we're aligning whole of state government against this problem. I have a lot of agencies, a lot of points of entry, a lot of vulnerabilities. We're boosting our cybersecurity information, tools, and information services across the state. And it's going to be sophisticated. It's sophisticated. It's not just being attacked and then trying how to figure out cleaning up. I am always, whether it's crime on the streets, crime in our subways, I'd rather be preventing crimes than solving crimes. The same goes with cybersecurity. We're also focused on local governments. We mentioned Suffolk County. I spent 14 years as a local government official. A long time ago when computers were just starting to assist us in managing our operations, our real estate transactions, our financial information we had to report to the state. There's many points of entry from local and county government, from my time as a county official, where we are connected to the systems of the state. So I immediately realized this is a point of vulnerability. If our local governments and our county governments allow something in to infiltrate our system because of those connections, then our security is compromised. That's why I approached this with this knowledge, but also the sense of urgency I'm talking about. So I'm always thinking about the local partners. I've been there. And they would often say, we don't know what to do. We're vulnerable. We have no idea what to do. They don't have the money for their own cybersecurity officers. They can't afford Colin, I'm sure. We don't have the money, they said. So I said, we'll take care of that. We'll give you money. Many times you can help them by just saying, I get that, I understand. I also knew that, as I mentioned, these areas needed training. They need help. That's why our latest budget provided $30 million in shared cybersecurity services to help county and local government identify and fix the gaps in their security system. So as a result, 53,000 computers owned by county and local governments are now protected by the latest security technology and integrated into a statewide picture for the first time ever. Think about that. Before that happened, all those vulnerabilities were very ever present. So I want to emphasize this is not a top-down approach. It is understanding, collaborating with local governments to understand their unique challenges is the way to go. And it's making a big impact. Counties that some of you may have not ventured out to yet, Allegheny County, Wyoming County, Suffolk County, perhaps you've been to. Every one of them has thanked us profusely for our efforts, and some even calling it the best state-run program they've ever been involved with. I'm proud of that. This is new, it's innovative, but it's what must be done. And the second element, not just this unification of working together, but resilience. We must expand the scope of our cybersecurity efforts to protect our critical infrastructure. Last February, we announced the formation, as I mentioned, the Joint Security Operations Center, literally brought to people from all over, federal, state, local, under one roof. And I want to mention here today, it's not just what government can do, but the private sector has a role. And we have people like Craig Newmark, who's here with us today, who you'll hear from, who is also helping us. He committed $100 million to the Cyber Civil Defense Initiative. That is extraordinary. And I want to give him a round of applause right now for that amazing show of support for our efforts here. Because he understands the need to connect all levels of government, but with the private sector and nonprofits as well, because they don't have the resources or the ability. They're busy out there taking care of our institutions and our culturals and our people. They don't have time to worry about this. This is how we can team up and help them protect themselves as well. And we talk about things with our young people, making sure that they're protected, our kids in schools are protected. This is a whole nother initiative, which is showing the vulnerabilities of our young people and their exposure to this cyber world. You only need to have a teenage daughter or a niece or someone you care about. Boy, am I glad my kids are old. It is a tough time out there. MySpace was just starting when my kids are in high school, and I was like, what is this? But here we are today. It's a scary time for parents, and I'll just digress for 1 second that we are also at the state level continuing to do what we can. In my world, this is a different kind of cyber attack. It's an attack on the psychology of our children, our daughters particularly, when 1 out of 3 teenage girls entertain thoughts of suicide because they've been attacked or bullied and made to feel worthless because of what's happening with online predators sometimes, and sometimes it's their own classmates. It is a tough world out there, and we as the adults have to continue to find ways to protect our children too, because their emotional and mental health is being jeopardized every single day when this continues. So as I say, the third part of our realm, our pillars, is preparedness. We're not naive to the threats any longer. We cannot say we didn't know it's coming. We've now seen enough. We know enough now. And by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. Now, if you check ChatGPT, they say Benjamin Franklin said that, but someone else disputes that. They actually think, see what I'm talking about? We don't even know if that's true. But it's a good line. But in New York, we're preparing to succeed, not fail. So we're going to bulk up our protections. And again, it's not just about systems, digital platforms, computers. I'm saying, and I've said this, I don't just need AI, I need HI, human intelligence. I need humans like the people in this room to do what they can to help us thwart these threats. And it all begins in a classroom. We're expanding our SUNY programs into more high-tech cyber research. I need more professionals. Colin, it's hard to hire people. We talk about this. There aren't enough people trained. Dean, give me more students. Give me more. And providing resources to high school students as well, so they understand the career opportunities as well. I want to bulk up our workforce in this space. We're investing in programs like P-Tech, exposing them to STEM and technology opportunities, and also increase the number of workers in this field overall. We're building the first in the nation team in our Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, a team embedded in our Homeland Security Services to work on this with young people as well and get them excited in internships and elsewhere. But also, when you think about this, why we're here today, while we have a class of graduates with us here today, how we can infuse cybersecurity in places you might not have thought we needed it before. And I want to acknowledge all the MTA personnel joining us here today. Put up your hand if you're with the MTA. Well, okay. Who's running the trains? Please don't tell me they're all going to be late today. We have such a great record of on-time arrivals, right, Jano? You may have just blown your record. But all of you are the first graduates of the NYU, again, thank you, NYU, MTA Operational Technology Cybersecurity Certification Program. Now, that is going to be one big certificate on your refrigerator back home, I guarantee you. You put it next to your kids' report cards. But it's the first in the kind because we do things first here. But we need to train the train operators, the switch signal operators, the workers in our other elements of critical infrastructure, training them through a variety of topics. And these graduates have gone through 2 8-week courses. And you might wonder, why does a train operator, who we value for many, many reasons, you take care of us every day, and I'm grateful for that, but why do you need this kind of preparation? Well, you're already trained in a wide variety of crisis scenarios. It's what you do. It's part of the job. Most people wouldn't think this, but that's why you are so outstanding in the moment when your skills are needed. From natural disasters to terror attacks to crimes, you know what to do. They know what to do out there. But this program provides additional know-how so you can help prevent attacks, alert authorities when the system is exhibiting behaviors that could indicate a cyber attack that others would not have noticed if they didn't have this training. And also operate with reduced digital capacity. Sometimes that's what it's going to take to minimize the exposure. And also help get the system back online so New Yorkers can continue to travel safely and securely and on time. So to all the graduates here who took the time to learn these skills, you know more than most now. You see more threats than others will have, but for this program. And I'm grateful for your dedication to enhance your own skills, because I know every day you go out there in your jobs, it is not easy. There's not a lot of thank yous. But this city does not run without you. Does not run. And your ability to have this training, to go into your jobs and have now the mental awareness, the human intelligence that I need to have on site, that's going to protect us. You may never know all the lives you could have saved or the disruptions you prevented, but I know you're going to do that because you're now trained as a result of this program. So cybersecurity is really a team sport here. There's not a single person who shouldn't be aware of what it looks like, what it feels like, how to alert the authorities when something happens. And that's what the collaboration is all about. We're protecting individuals, protecting local governments, protecting our state, and ultimately protecting our nation. And I want to thank everybody who understands, as I do, the time has passed to talk about this. This is New York, and we are acting, and this is the plan that's going to make it happen. Thank you very much for your attendance here today. Congratulations to our graduates. Thank you. With that, let me bring up Jano Lieber, who now is also a cybersecurity expert as well. So thank you, Jano.
Governor, thank you, as always, for your leadership on all things transit and MTA, including cybersecurity. We're going to follow this blueprint that you've laid out. You know, we worked with your team on it. It reflects a lot of know-how that we've had to develop, but this is the way you protect New Yorkers from cyber attacks, especially New Yorkers who are depending on our transit system. So we thank you. We're going to do it also because, small fact, you have an old-fashioned mole at the MTA. The wife of your chief cyber officer, Colin Ahern, actually works in our accessibility office. Rachel, thank you for being here. I have to call it, you said that the transit system was at risk because of the overrepresentation of MTA officials here, but the transit system, best on-time performance in 10 years under your leadership, but also under the leadership of Demetrius Critchlow. Stand up and take a bow. And he's joined by MTA Chief Technology Officer Ralph Portnoy and Ralph's boss, Lizette Camillo, our Chief Administrative Officers, other MTA officials, and welcome all of my brothers and sisters from the MTA. Listen, today's rapidly changing technology has many benefits. It allows us to enhance safety, improve efficiency, reduce environmental impacts, but as you have highlighted so well, Governor, it also introduces new risks: unauthorized access, ransomware attacks. Anyone at the MTA know the word Kronos, right? We all remember that episode, real experience at the MTA with ransomware attack on one of our outside vendors that complicated our payroll and administrative process for many months. And all kinds of cyber incursions can cause service disruptions and otherwise impact the availability and functionality of our subway, bus, paratransit, commuter rail, and even our bridges and tunnels. Remember, we are managing an incredibly complex set of systems across a large geographic area, and as we were discussing before, nationally critical infrastructure that looks after 40% of our nation's transit riders, who happen to be 85% of the people commuting to the business district that drives the regional economy and the national economy. That's pretty important. And we handle, no secret, we handle a lot of money through Easy Pass and Omni and even good old-fashioned MetroCard and cash. And this makes us a target both for state actors, we all know who those are, but old-fashioned cyber criminals as well. We face daily, nearly constant threats, literally billions of probes and attacks on the MTA technology systems every day. So we take these threats seriously, which is why we have made a concerted effort first to hire a top-tier team of cybersecurity professionals. Our HR team is represented here because they know we had to break the mold in many ways in order to pull together a team that could do that. But now we're moving across into new territory, which is to train and prepare people across all the departments of our operating agency to be anti-cyber crime and cyber attack professionals. These are agencies who, maybe don't have cybersecurity as their principal responsibility, and they're now going to have folks who really know a lot about it in order to lead the way to a more cybersecurity safe environment at the MTA. Our partnership with NYU is essential to this work. We're working to train together. We're working together to train employees in the fundamentals of networking, programming, system management, and of course, just pure cybersecurity. And in the last 18 months, we've trained 60 employees across the entire organization, as the governor highlighted. I'm incredibly proud of these recent graduates who themselves took the initiative to become leaders in our agency and to be able to teach others and help us to deliver true cybersecurity. We are doing this with a partnership with NYU Tandon, but more broadly, we are using partnerships with all kinds of New York schools. CUNY, where we have 150 internships this summer, Manhattan College, and so many other engineering leaders to make sure that we are a first-class technology organization. Now, as the governor always says, transit is the lifeblood of New York. The system has to be protected at all costs, and that means this kind of investment in people and in process and in technology so that we can keep pace with the evolving threats. We can look forward to continuing the important work that has met such an important milestone with the issuance of the governor's cybersecurity strategy. And as we move forward with this, obviously we're doing everything in partnership with the federal government. And it is a great honor for me to be able to introduce and turn over the podium to Acting Principal Deputy National Cyber Director, Jake Braun. His title is a mouthful, but you understand that he is the man responsible for overseeing President Biden's national security strategy implementation, a huge responsibility. Jake, the podium is yours.
Good morning, and thanks, Yano. So I guess I'll say that despite the Yankees beating my White Sox 7-1 yesterday, I'm very happy to be here and honored to be able to commend the governor and her team on behalf of the Biden administration for this incredibly impressive strategy that was put together, which is a bold, affirmative vision for keeping New Yorkers safe in cyberspace. And I also want to thank Colin Ahern for his partnership with our team in discussions about the strategy up until now. As the governor said, this is the first such strategy that the state has produced in its entire history. So, again, you should be commended for that. And as my team had the opportunity to talk to Colin and his team about the development of it, we're also looking forward to supporting in any way we can, in any way the Biden administration can, on implementation of the strategy. It's clear to us in the Biden administration that the Hochul team has intended to lead on cybersecurity since the beginning of the administration. They've committed to massive, unprecedented resources going to their IT and OT improvements. They've dramatically expanded public-private partnerships to enhance resilience in the case of an attack. And finally, they've been focused specifically on building out the cyber workforce that the governor talked about, which is so critical to being able to actually implement a cybersecurity strategy. And finally, she named a chief cyber officer, which, having come from the National Cyber Director's Office, we think is a really good idea. So anybody, based on all that, anybody who's been watching the Hochul administration since its inception would not be surprised at how much of a bold and visionary document this is. We, too, in the Biden administration sought to be bold in our cyber strategy that we rolled out for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a national security imperative to get cyber right. But two, what's become increasingly evident over the years is that the cyber workforce is a path to good-paying middle-class jobs for American families. And that is true nationwide, and it's especially true here in New York. There are thousands and thousands of unfilled, good-paying cyber jobs that I know this institution is committed to helping fill those vacancies and get folks on a path to a strong middle-class life. This is why we've been focused on the Investing in America program that the president has tirelessly worked on, which is provide really historic and unprecedented funding that has gone nationwide, but in particular to the Empire State, to help rebuild our infrastructure. But also there's billions in these bills for cybersecurity investments as we're rebuilding our infrastructure, so that this go around we can bake cybersecurity into the infrastructure and the economy as we rebuild this economy from the ground up. What's also very heartening for us to see is that there's several ways in which the governor's strategy is a Venn diagram overlap with ours. So I'll outline just a couple quickly. First off, as I mentioned, this is a bold affirmative vision. As you listen to the governor talk, she wasn't super focused on all the negative aspects of cybersecurity. Granted, we have to acknowledge those, but really the kind of bold affirmative vision of how do we create a secure space in cyberspace for our communities to live and thrive. So that's one key similarity between the New York plan and the Biden administration's plan. Secondly, the collaboration with the private sector. As we know, the private sector, they own and operate most of our IT infrastructure, and by working closely with them, that will ensure that we are resilient and can stave off attacks before they happen, as the governor was referencing. And then further, of course, again, back to workforce. The strategy focuses several pages on workforce, as does ours. In fact, we actually just rolled out our cybersecurity education and workforce strategy last Monday. And so I would be remiss if I did not mention that we want to congratulate the folks from MTA and the NYU Operational Technology Security Program. Again, that's a mouthful. But we're really happy that you all committed to become experts in your own field, but in cybersecurity. It's critically important that the nation and folks working in critically important areas like you all are up your cyber game, so we can both stave off attacks, as the governor mentioned, and also be resilient and able to bounce back when they do eventually happen. So again, I want to thank the governor for having us here. I want to really thank her and her team for putting in the hard work to developing this strategy. and look forward to further implementation of it with you guys. So on that note, I am introducing our colleague Craig Newmark. What was provided to me is that Craig is a nerd who founded Craigslist and is a pigeon enthusiast. So with that, welcome Craig.
Governor, a serious thanks for your leadership in New York and for recognizing what I'm now calling cyber civil defense. I'm a veteran of the duck and cover days way back in the 50s, and cybersecurity is now about that in very real ways. The New York strategy really maintains genuine leadership, both for protecting the people of New York and also inspires the protection of people across the whole country. This is a big deal. It includes a vision that I share with the governor that we're talking unity across all levels of government, across public and private sectors, and for that matter, we're talking about a whole of nation defense. Kind of like World War II, we were all expected to play a part, and that's back. It's also great that we're launching this strategy, but also celebrating the graduation of a bunch of a new class of cyber experts, which I'm hesitating to call my fellow nerds, but I probably won't be able to resist. We need a lot more people learning about cybersecurity basics, and then if they feel that they're good at it and like it, then make education available so they can move into serious, well-paying careers. I seriously appreciate the work of the governor who's helping New Yorkers, regardless of background, have those opportunities to get what could be really good-paying cybersecurity careers, good jobs which help protect us all. To wrap it up, for the new graduates, my fellow nerds, remember, a nerd's got to do what a nerd's got to do. I think we're starting to wrap things up now.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our program. Please remain seated as we take a quick photo. Thank you for coming.